Welcome to Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk 1180 for the best in Saturday Talk Radio. And now for the best in Wednesday Talk Radio on 1410 KERI at 1 o'clock. And for now, we're on 1230 KGEO at 10 o'clock on Saturday. So we're making the rounds here. So, Clay, I guess 3 stations means you're syndicated? Is that what they say?
Aren't we really important?
Yeah. Gee, I'm feeling my oats this morning. Your host is Clay Koerner, and I'm Marty Pay. Clay, we had a great show last week with Sally Pipes, the author of The Truth About Obamacare and the Pipes Plan. I don't know anybody that knows Obamacare as well as she does.
Yeah, Sally really knows her stuff. It's really unfortunate that we have a bill like this or a law like this in place right now because it's going to be destroying the country. Yeah,
it is. And the encouraging thing, though, is that a lot of politicians are seeking out people like Sally to talk to them and say, hey, what's going on with this? But it's a disaster waiting for a place to happen. So next week, we're going to have Jeremy Stott and Wesley Barrentos back on the program to talk about their wall-to-wall bike ride that's going to start from Bakersfield on February 19th and end up at the Vietnam Wall on May 29th. Now, keep in mind, they're going to be going to ride over 4,000 miles. They're not going straight across. And Wesley is going to be using hand cranks since he lost his legs in Iraq. You don't want to miss next week's show. It's going to be a great show. Now, Clay, we've had a lot of great guests this past year, including Newt Gingrich, Pat Buchanan, Waleed Ferris, Ray Stevens.
But I thought that was Ray Charles, wasn't it?
No, I did say that on the air, didn't I? I did call him Ray Charles. Yep. But one of my very, very favorites was today's guest, Margaret Hoover. Margaret is a Fox commentator on the O'Reilly Factor, great-granddaughter of President Herbert Hoover, and the author of a great new book called American Individualism, How a New Generation of Conservatives Can Save the Republican Party. Margaret, welcome to Taking Care of Business.
Thanks for having me back.
Oh, this is a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. How's the book doing?
The book is going well. It's had a lot of publicity out of the gate. Sold a few copies, which is good, and it's been a great starting point for a conversation about how Republicans can get the youth vote.
Yes.
And I've it's even the RNC has picked up on it. We've visited a bit. I've visited with them, and we're kicking around some ideas and hope to get them in action as soon as we have a nominee.
You mean the Republicans don't have a chance of having the youth vote right now?
No, we do have the best chance of getting back the youth vote since the Reagan years, this go-around. And the reason is that, youth, as we talked about back in July or August when we first visited, was, youth voted 2-1 for Barack Obama last time, 66% to 32% Barack Obama versus John McCain. It's this 30 and under cohort that I call the millennial generation is the largest generation in American history. There are 17 million more of them than baby boomers, 27 million more of them than Generation X.
Wow.
And they partisan identity solidifies for new generational cohorts after 3 presidential election cycles. And they, by the way, voted for John Kerry and they voted for Barack Obama. So we've got 8 months to really make inroads with them before they just don't self-identify as Republicans. But the good news is that they didn't get what they were hoping for with President Obama. The hope and change didn't happen. They're disillusioned, which is not good, but it gives us an opening to make our case to them because I think conservative principles actually play to the hands of some of the things that this generation cares most about, especially fiscal responsibility, debt and deficits, looking out for entitlement reforms that are going to be on the backs of our generation to pay for. That's the kind of, I think, conservative solutions have attacked those problems in sustainable ways and really provide solutions and actual hope and change the kids were waiting for. So I think we have a real opening here to make inroads, and as soon as we have a nominee, we'll be able to really coalesce around that person and then reach out proactively to youth to try to engage them and bring them to the polls for the Republican nominee this November.
Margaret, I think it was in your book that I read if you lose them for 3 consecutive elections, whatever group it is, that group is gone.
That's right. That with new generations especially, as they get past the barriers to voting, they figure out where their polling place is. They socialize with their peers about who they're going to vote for, all those initial barriers to voting, once they've cleared those, they go to the polls and vote, and they do that for 3 consecutive presidential election cycles. If each presidential election cycle they've voted for a candidate from the same party, they will continue to identify with that party for the rest of their lives.
Mm-hmm. And oddly enough, the last poll I saw, they're sitting on the sidelines right now. They don't know where to go because, like you say, they're disenchanted with Obama, and the Republicans haven't really given them anything to look at yet because we're still in this, infighting stage.
That's exactly right. Although what has been really interesting and engaging and exciting to see is all the enthusiasm for Ron Paul. So it's not that there isn't a Republican candidate that can't do it or that Republicans can't do it. And I always like to remind Republicans that you don't have to be a young candidate to connect with youth. Ronald Reagan won youth by 20% in 1984, brought a whole generation into the Republican Revolution, the conservative movement, and he was the oldest nominee we'd ever had. So youth doesn't equal youth. A young candidate doesn't equal youth attraction. It's about communicating a clear vision that inspires.
Mm-hmm. Our guest by phone is the author of American Individualism, Margaret Hoover.
Hey, Margaret, this is Clay. Let me give you something to think about, both you and Marty, because I disagree with both of you.
I'm shocked.
Well,
what a revolutionary concept.
But, when you look at what Obama's given to the youth today, he's given them food stamps, he's given them free education, unemployment benefits, he's given them free medical insurance, and a guaranteed house loan. How could they not vote for him?
Well, that's a good question. It certainly doesn't play out in the polls. You're exactly right. Here's a great point. With Obamacare, they've gotten to stay in their parents' insurance. They don't have, which is the most important thing for them, this generation's 37% unemployed or underemployed, the largest amount of unemployment in any generational cohort. They don't have jobs. And he hasn't given them also the post-partisanship, the not red states, not blue states, the United States of America. He promised a united government that could work together. He didn't deliver that. The economy hasn't gotten better, even by his own admission. If he couldn't turn the economy around in 4 years, he said his presidency would be a one-term proposition.
He lied.
So I hope he was telling the truth. I hope that he is a one-term president. So he hasn't actually delivered on the things that most inspired them, which was government that could work and leadership that could unite government. And, by the way, the kids don't have jobs. They're still on their parents' sofas.
Well, one of the things that Newt said that I thought was really interesting, that we have 99 weeks of unemployment, and if people would have gone to school, they could have had an AA degree in that time.
Isn't that? I love the way, that's one of those things that Newt can do. He can sort of put it in perspective in such a great way. Rather than paying people to stay home, what if we paid people to go advance their degrees or further their education, and which would make them more competitive in the workforce in the first place? I love the way he can put things in perspective that way.
Of course, one of the problems with giving them 99 weeks in school is now they got liberal professors giving them all kinds of BS.
Yeah, he didn't say what kind of school. I mean, that's... I agree with you. I would suggest you go. Do you guys know about Khan Academy?
No.
KhanAcademy.org. Check it out. Basically, you can get any sort of lessons you want in 7-minute YouTube videos. Anything from, basic math to, credit default swaps to introductories on art history. I would say everybody just go to Khan Academy. You can get a free education online in 7-minute YouTube clips. I'm a huge fan.
Easier than that, you can buy a degree if you know where to go.
Yeah, well, cheaper. You don't even have to buy the degree. I'm just a free shout out for this website, but they're a nonprofit organization. They're fantastic. They have taught more classes than Harvard University has since its founding, and they've only been around for 2 years.
See, Margaret, what I did is I gave Clay his happy pill, but I didn't give it to him early enough, so it hasn't kicked in yet.
Oh, Clay, sorry. I was gonna ask you about the happy pill, but you brought it up, Marty.
I'm just trying to be realistic. I really don't see how Obama can lose. Why? Because the kids aren't going to turn out. They're unenthused. Hopefully we can get them to turn out for a Republican. And if he doesn't have the kids, he won the election by 10 million raw votes. So if you look at, how many John McCain, there's a 10 million raw vote difference between McCain and Obama in 2008. But the kids made up 8 million of that 10 million votes. 8 million of the 10 million votes that Obama won by came from 30 and unders. They're either going to stay home or they're going to vote for Republican. So I don't see how he makes up the difference, especially in the down economy. Yeah, the economy is improving marginally, but not nearly as fast as it would have or should have. It has in other recession recoveries.
Let's pick up there when we get back. Our guest by phone is Margaret Hoover, author of American Individualism, and we'll be back in a moment on Taking Care of Business on Current Radio, News Talk 1180.